Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to HitScan. With Arisa being changed on the PTR in a pretty dramatic way, we are here to answer the question, how good, if at all, is this new version of Orisa? And today I sit down with Eviltoaster to talk about her and her relation to the other tanks, whether Reinhardt may go up in popularity instead, those kind of areas. You can check out Eviltoaster at twitch.tv/Eviltoaster. All of those details are in the description, but let's get started. Is she good or bad? Is it because a lot of people are saying that new Arisa's trash, a lot of them saying like she's now unkillable, this ridiculous like killing machine. Where is she? From 1 being utter trash to 10 being, as I think Overwatch called it, the Terminator.
I played a few games with her on PTR. I think she's pretty good. But I also played against some Reinhardt comps where I felt like I was getting run over, but maybe that's just going to be a problem of solidifying the meta, and then maybe like another DPS or support just picks this thing and all of a sudden we don't have a problem. Like for example, like with the movement speed change, it's probably viable to run Lucio with Arisa. I mean, it already kind of is, but now you could disengage from a Reinhardt pushing you with Lucio by running away with a Lucio as Arisa, and then it's like kind of equal. It might end up just being a case like that where Orisa's still the best because she makes shields and also does damage, whereas Reinhardt does not. He only does one or the other. But as far as power level goes, Arisa's pretty freaking good. Like, I don't disagree that she's strong. I do disagree that she's the same though. Like, she's more interactive and there's a little bit more skill expression as the Arisa player. There's more ways to use your kit to outplay others just because you get one cooldown faster, you get to move faster, and also the other team has less barriers as well. And Arisa's kit is affected by barriers. So I think it's going to be healthier, but I do think she's still going to be strong. But that's not going to be entirely Arisa's fault. That's just going to be like the fault of the meta as a whole, if that makes more sense. It's hard to describe, but at the end of the day, her power level, I think, is still pretty high up there. She's still like the tankiest tank, probably.
I feel like Arisa had two big problems. She was very strong and she was also very boring to play. You were somebody that played Arisa when nobody else did, way back when she was sort of added into the game and stuff. Is she more fun now to play than she was before? Because, you know, you played her for so long, you might have enjoyed it to begin with, but I imagine there was a point where how she worked was very boring for you, just sort of sitting there and putting down a shield. So you started playing like fucking flanking Arisa to sort of keep it interesting or whatever. Like, is she now more fun now than she was before?
I definitely agree. I played Arisa for a long time, and really I think she only got less fun once Double Barrier happened. And when she was like during the Roadhog meta, like the Arisa Hog meta, she was less fun. I mean, like, you know, for me personally, I just like to express myself when I play. So if I'm the only person playing Arisa, that's when I'm at my happiest. So of course when she's meta, it feels like, oh, everyone's like intruding on my hero. But as long as the base gameplay of that character is still fun, it's still fine. And during the Hog Hook meta, or the Halt Hook meta, it was still fun because like you had to set up things. Like there were still ways for you to be a better Arisa than anyone else through how you manage your abilities, how you do anything. But in Double Barrier, it's a complete flowchart. Like you put down barrier when you have it, you shoot shield while it's in front of you, and you never stop. So playing Arisa is not very fun. On the patch, on the PTR, there's a whole lot more room to make decisions. There's a whole lot of room to express how you are a better Arisa than the other Arisa, even if it is an Arisa versus Arisa meta. So it's going to be more fun. And I totally feel that. I think she was very fun to play on the PTR games that I did play. So that's good.
What is the most impactful bit of her kit now than before?
It's definitely Fortify. Like everyone that's like freaking out on Twitter and Reddit about Fortify, they're not wrong. But it's what I noticed from my short time with Arisa on PTR is that because Fortify is the focus, she plays very differently. Because before, a common pattern with playing Arisa was you would make a barrier, it would get destroyed, then you would fortify, and once your fortify was over, your cooldown for your shield would come back up. Now it feels the other way around, where I fortified the tank, then when fortify is over, I make a barrier. And then once it's over, I then fortify again. And I think that's a more healthy pattern for Arisa to play, because you could still shoot Arisa. You could affect her with certain abilities. That's more healthy than just shooting a barrier all the time. But I do think it's going to be like kind of the central part of her kit now. If that's the case and her 10-second 600 health barrier is the way it is, then it's kind of like almost like what we would call an off tank, but everyone else got nerfed, so I don't even think off tanks exist anymore.
So when people say that like we could still see the same heroes being played, it's not strictly as doom and gloom as it sounds, because there's an element of that Resident Sleeper playstyle has had its tempo increased, and also more heroes become viable in it too. So it isn't that bad if we do still get like Arisa in the meta.
Right. And like as far as tanks go, like Arisa's kind of fun. Like other tanks you don't really get to do a lot, but with Arisa you have abilities that let you have a say in the fight. But Arisa in a double barrier meta doesn't get to use those. Like you don't get to use your gun because all you're hitting are barriers. Getting halts don't do anything because there's just a bunch of barriers that keep getting repositioned. So now you'll get to play Arisa and probably have fun. So that's going to be nice. And every other hero will still get to function. Whereas before, like heroes like Soldier, for example, Soldier's probably going to be good. Because now you could actually shoot people and pressure them with hit scan while their barriers are down and actually shoot barriers and see the reward. Whereas before, you pick Soldier, just like you literally do nothing. So even if we do end up in a world where we're playing the same tanks, the meta will still be healthier.
When it comes to the other sort of, like, granted you've just said that, but when it comes to the other like main tanks of Reinhardt and Winston, and I guess to an extent Hammond, have others taken over her in regards to how strong they are?
Well, with Ball being untouched, he might just emerge as like the best tank in the game as well.
How so?
Well, Ball is already really good, but similar to how every other tank is held down by the anti-tank heroes, mostly like May, Reaper, and Sombra, Hammond is affected by them a lot. But every tank is affected by them a lot, so it's kind of hard to say that, you know, they exist to keep them down. But Arisa is the most resistant to those heroes, and so is Sigma to an extent. So that's kind of part of why those heroes are meta. Because, like, that's something I've always said in the past is that people would be playing, like, Lucio Reinhardt comps into double barrier if it had any room to do so. But they don't, because May, Reaper, and Sombra are all things that you could just pick, and then the tanks stay the same. So now, even though everything gets nerfed, that truth might still be there, where May, Reaper, and Sombra are still the anti-tank heroes that also just happen to be good picks all the time. So, if that's the case, maybe you still pick Ball. I doubt it, though, because, like, Fortify is just too good, because it resists all of those things. And Sigma can eat May ult, Sigma can eat Reaper ult, Sigma can block hack with barriers on reaction. Like, there's a lot of ways that those characters are just resistant to the anti-tanks. But, that being said, there's going to be a future where, like, if anti-tank heroes aren't as good, that tank heroes are just going to be good all around. Because that's really, like, the main thing that determines if a tank is good or not. Do they survive against May, Reaper, and Sombra? If no, then they're not good enough. Just because that's what the meta is right now. And Bastion, even. Like, Bastion's still good, and Bastion destroys characters like Wrecking Ball. So it sucks. But if that ever clears up, and heroes just counter heroes and not entire roles, as it should be, then you might see a world where characters like Ball or Roadhog end up being the tankiest of them all. Because Roadhog's like self-heal cooldown, what is it? It's like 8 seconds or something short. 6 or 8 seconds, somewhere in there. That's faster than an Arisa barrier, and it potentially blocks more damage, because you're healing 300 and you get 50% damage resistance. That's better damage absorption than an Arisa barrier. And then you get to do a bunch of damage and hook people because you're Roadhog. Or Wrecking Ball, you could get up to 700 health from his barrier. That's more than Arisa's barrier. And then you also get to be Wrecking Ball and you get to hit people and shoot them. Like there's these trade-offs that make all of these tanks seem more in line with each other. But the great filter for tanks right now is, can you beat May, Reaper, and Sombra?
I guess finally then, the general health for the tanks. Who stands where? How good is it? And just overall, how's it looking?
If I had to give it a tier list, I would say the top tier is still Orisa. I would say Sigma is probably still up there too, just because he has like really good abilities. And like I played against Sigma, like a really good Sigma player on PTR, and the amount of like shield uptime, not like the barrier, but like the shield health from absorbing stuff. Sigma is tanky right now on PTR with the changes, but it's tanky from that ability, not from the barrier. So it's still more interactive, but Sigma is still tanky, and he also just happens to have like one of the best ults in the game. So I'm sure Sigma's going to be fine. Sigma Orisa probably will still be a really good pick. That being said, it's less, I don't think the positions of power changed, but the gaps between them are much closer now. So whereas before, like, Reinhardt was kind of Garbo compared to Orisa and Sigma, now he's kind of right next to them. And Winston, I think, as well. Like, Winston isn't bad. Reinhardt isn't bad. But they were just so far and away from the effectiveness of Orisa Sigma. Now I think they're closer. I think the Roadhog and Zarya are probably even closer. Like, barriers are still going to be good, but the amount of distance they closed on the top tier is probably greater than what Winston and Reinhardt have. Because, like, their methods of damage absorption are now much more comparable to the methods of the other tanks. And Wrecking Ball is probably still, like, either top tier or just next to top tier. They're, like, A tier. D.Va, I don't know. I think D.Va's still gonna struggle, but I don't know. She might surprise us again. Like, Matrix can still be as good as a barrier in certain situations because of how barriers were nerfed. Because, like, again, you go back to, like, when everyone hated D.Va. It was like, oh, I'm standing in front of D.Va and I don't get to play the game for like 4 seconds because that's how long Matrix lasted. Well, now the whole game is speeding up because barriers are all getting nerfed. So that 2.5 seconds might feel like forever now. Maybe. So we don't know what's going to happen with D.Va, but she's pretty sure she's not top tier.
And finally, where can people see more of you playing? I mean, who are you going to be playing at this point, I guess, is another big question.
I'm actually going to play more Arisa. I've been playing a bit more of it even these days on stream, but after seeing these notes for Arisa, I want to try playing her again, like just like one trick style, which will probably just be the way to play her anyway, but there's also some room to try more flank Arisa strategies, and that'll be exciting. And if you want to see the #1 flank Arisa, the only flank Arisa, then you'll find it at twitch.tv/Eviltoaster. You can also follow my Twitter at Eviltoaster.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. As I said, do definitely check out Eviltoaster as he goes on to play this new version of Arisa. It's looking quite exciting, quite scary at the same time, so do definitely give it a look. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you next time.